What's going on, YouTube? I'm Blackie and welcome back to my channel. Alright, today we're going to begin a new series. And this is going to be a DIY gear series, or kit series as I prefer to call it. Because we're going to focus mostly on kits and getting and gathering and assembling, mostly with the idea of the starter. Someone getting, first involved into this wonderful hobby of woodscraft. And I know that many of my European followers are going to call it bushcraft, and that's fine. I prefer the term woodscraft because I live in the woods of South Alabama. I don't live in bush, I live in woods. And so I view a woodsman as someone who has the skill set for camping, for foraging, for thriving, surviving in the woods for long term. They're someone who understands the nature, the lay of the land, the game species, the seasonal changes, weather, camping, hypothermia, hyperexhaustion, all of these factors. It's sort of as what a famous woodsman once called it, the College of Woodsy Knowledge. And that was Kephart. And I agree. It is a college course. It is learning in depth. And every time you believe that you've got it, trust me, you're going to open up a whole new curriculum you hadn't even looked at yet. So that's why it's a lifelong endeavor to become a true master of your environment. Now, how does that apply to this? Well, we're going to get you started, and we're going to start with simple gear and how you can create your own gear or gather your own gear, whether you may prefer to purchase your gear or make it yourself to save money. Either way, but you definitely need to have the skill to create the gear yourself so that if you lose a ridge line that you bought off of somebody off of Amazon, you understand how to construct a new one in the field should something happen to it, or how to work with a knife, how to sharpen a knife, how to use a haversack, how to load a haversack. When is a haversack appropriate for an overnight camp out and when is it not? When does it need to scale on up to that backpack or that rucksack or that full, big, huge, backpack for the conditions? All of that we'll step into a little at a time. So this very first one, we're going to start part one, and we're going to start with cordage. Now, in my haversack, I carry, usually right here on top, a cordage pouch. Now let's talk about the cordage pouch. This is not an insignificant point. The cordage pouch. Now whether you buy one, make one, portion it one yourself or whatever, it needs to be a pouch that will hold all of your accumulated gear. There are two kinds of cordages that I teach. One is recoverable cordage. This is usually paracord or heavy bank line that has been created into a given tool, we shall say. And then is at the end of when we need it in camp, it's brought out of here, put into operation, and then when the game is over, when the day is over, we reclaim it and put it back into the pouch to carry, just like a hammer or screwdriver. Excuse me, is a tool that we're going to reclaim. Well, this is reclaimable cordage. Non-reclaimable cordage, we're going to cover that as well, is going to be like bank line, jute, things like that, that we intend to take it, create, and then leave it, get rid of it, or leave it permanently at camp. We're not reclaiming that. Okay? So, part one, we're going to deal with the pouch itself. Oh, I got this thing packed. In here we have the long line. We're going to deal with that. Your pouch needs to be big enough to handle all of your accumulated cordage. It needs to be something that is adaptable. This one has loops on it that will fit onto the strap of my haversack so that I can put it right there if I'm going to be doing a project where I'm going to be taking cordage in and out repeatedly, like I'm setting up something quickly for a demonstration, or I'm marking trail and I need to use bright orange cordage for it or something. I want it right here at hand's grab. Also, there is a loop upon this bag, and that is because my car keys have a carabiner on it, a cabiner. So I can hook it to it and hook it directly to my belt and be able to use it that way if I'm not going to be carrying my haversack. Either one works well. Now, this particular one was made by Made Ready Gear, and if you're interested in something like that, I'll put a link in the description box to go talk to my niece. She makes them. Now, put this back in here. Let us talk about the long line. Not to be confused with a ridge line. The long line is the line that is usually somewhere around 20 to 30 feet is where I typically go with it. It can be longer, it can be shorter, but it's the line that's going to be right on top that you're going to grab first. Typically, I put into it a bowline loop at the beginning of it. Why do we use a bowline? This bowline is big enough that this whole hank will pass through. That way I can go up to a tree, pull this out, and be able to go around the tree and pass back through it should I want to. So by pulling it straight out, so it'll come straight out, I can go up to the tree, go around the tree, and pass the whole hank through that loop just like that to cinch it up and make a lark's head and anchor. I also utilize this. As you can see, I have on it a pair of toggles that I made. These toggles are simple and easy to make, and all that this is a length of one of them plastic coat hangers that you find. I drilled holes about every 2 inches, and then I cut between them to make them like an inch, inch and a half long each. And then I threaded the paracord through it. With this, it acts like a button, okay? Makes for a quick disconnect. Now I take one of those toggles, the loop, I go around the tree, and I simply stick it in just like a button, and it will anchor like that. But the advantage over passing it through, I can just turn it sideways, hook, and it comes off the tree. So it's a quick disconnect. Sometimes that's what you want. So I usually will have at least one toggle on the long line. Now, what is the purpose of the long line? The long line is used as a hanging rope, like for bear bags and stuff like that. 30 foot, I can pull it out, hook it to the bag, throw this hank over a limb, and be able to pull it 10, 12 feet up and hang it up out of the reach of bears and things like that, and then take this over and tie it. So it's a quick, pre-made up cord for that, so I can lower and etc. I can also use this as a extra hand whenever I'm trying to take and lower some piece of gear. Say I've got a heavy pack and the way down is really, really steep, and I don't want to risk trying to go down with that pack on my back. I can hook it to this and then lower it down to a resting spot where it'd be safe. Then I go down, re-pull up my line, and lower it again to help me go up and down a steep obstacle. I can also use this to pull it very tight between two trees to use as an improvised ridge line. And it can also be used as a way to ferry things, let's say across a deep ravine or a stream or something like that, by me taking it and hooking it on this side and then going to the other side and anchoring it really tight like that. Now I've got something that I could take is this running line that I pull really tight, and I can take a carabiner and hook it to my heavy rucksack and put it on there and push the rucksack across. Let's say I'm going across some really fast water, and I've got a buddy on that side that me and him will, one of us goes across, puts the line up, and then we will get this line blood tight between trees, and then we'll hook a carabiner and pull the bags across, our haversacks or our rucksacks, something big and heavy, or at an ice chest that's just too awkward to go across because we're truck camping, but we want to be there. Things like that. It becomes a way to ferry stuff. In canoe camping and kayak camping, this is also a quick line to use for lining them through rapids and stuff like that, 30 feet. Usually I prefer like a 60-foot line for something like that, but it will work in a pinch for something like that. It's the big line that you need for that big job. Like you've The storms came up, your tents got trashed, your tarps trashed, everything's sopping wet, and I just need to gather all this up right quick to keep it from blowing away. Wadding it up in a wad and laying on it, short of that, I can take this and go around a big something and cinch it up to hold it in place. It's that quick grab big cord. So, let's talk about the manufacture of this. Okay, we're now going to tie our long line. And what we're going to do is I've got a length of cord that I want for this long line. I'm going to take either a toggle that I made. I don't have to put a toggle, but I do think it's an advantage to have at least one toggle on it. This is just a big button that would go onto a winter coat or something. And if you look around craft stores and sewing areas like at Walmart and stuff like that, a lot of times in spring, these type of winter buttons will pop up on sale to get rid of them. They're cheap to begin with, usually 2 on a card for $1 or less. So this is what we're going to use. So we've got the length of the paracord. On one end, I have tied a knot real tight, pulled it down tight, trimmed it close, and used a lighter to scorch it a little bit so it's not going to unravel. Not all paracord is made the same. This paracord right here is actual military paracord. Now this is not military paracord. For what we're making, it should work fine for this project. But understand it's not as strong as actual paracord, and these outer sheaths may be slick, and so some things you can tie a knot in a 5/5 cord and it'll hold, and some of them want to slide apart. It's how slick this is. So grab it and pull it between your fingers. Bear down and kind of pull, and if it feels a good deal of friction when you pull it, it should be fine. If you do like that and it's like it's wet or it's oiled, it's probably going to be lousy for tying knots with. Okay, we've got the length measured out, cut on one end. We take the other end, we go through our toggle like that. And if it bunches up, pulls out, something like that, do this. Go down the line, pinch it tight, and then pull the top. And that will pull it back, those lines back inside. Now we go and tie a knot right in the end. Nice and tight, just simple overhand knot. Pull it down tight, and then you want to trim it off close. Okay, now take a lighter. Burn that end just a little bit. All you're trying to do is just melt the material just a little bit, because it is nylon, so it is essentially a form of plastic, and it will stick to itself and not untie. I can, if I had to untie it, just cut it off really close right there and have it off. But this will keep that end from fraying out. All right, now what we want to do is I want to pull the length of the line, and I want to make this bowline knot big enough that the entire hank will go through it. So I'm going to pull a length about that long. I'm going to take and roll the material up just like that. So this material rolls up over the top. Okay? So I have the line coming underneath, going up and around over the top. Okay? Now you take the other end, you're going to come up through the hole, go around behind that line, pull it and put it back into the hole like that. Now grip this loop and that knot together and then pull it tight. And you can shift, either pull down or go up until this loop has been formed. That is a bowline knot. That, why do we use a bowline, is so that whenever it has been underloaded and it's been pulled down really tight, you can still untie it. And therefore, if you just take your fingernails and pull, you can pull it apart and untie it to get it out if we don't need it. So now we've got that toggle, and there is one long line ready. Now, in just a minute, I'll show you how to hank this up. Here's how to coil this up. I'm going to take my bowline with my 2 toggles, and I'm going to put it in my pinky like that. Now I'm going to come up and I'm going to do a figure 8, just like this, wrapping it around my hand as I do. Now when I get to where I've got about 4 feet of line or so left, what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this off, grabbing it up here at the top where the loop is, and that's where I'm going to take And I'm going to take the line, I'm going to go all the way around twice, and then I'm going to start spiraling it down toward the end, just like this, keeping the loops nice and tight as I do. Now, if you notice how it wants to flare out, take your hand and mash it down. You don't want it to flare out too much so it becomes trapped in some other way. We want to quick deploy, be able to pull it and it rolls right out. Pull it tight. And get down here where you're down to just like a foot or so left. Grab it and give it a good tight twist. All right. Now, see how much I got left? I'm going to take my fingertip, put it there, I'm going to come over my finger. Just like that. And then I'm going to pull from the back, go around 2 more times. And I'm going to take that tip end that's left, and I'm going to go through that loop I left with my finger. Just like that. Now, pull and twist everything down tight. And there is the hank ready to go. When you want it, you can pull this in and it'll just spiral right out, leaving you no knot. So, that is the long line. There are 101 uses for this. This is the big line when I need to hang up something, when I need to line it up and down something, when I need to make an improvised ridge line for an additional sunscreen or a windbreak or something like that. This is not to be confused with the ridge line. The ridge line has additional attachment points to hook to the actual tarp. And the tarp set has the actual ridge line with it. I leave the ridge line stakes, guy lines with the tarp or with the shelter system. Not carried in a haversack, that may be separate. Keep the tools with the work. Okay? Now in the top of my haversack I carry my cordage bag. Into it goes this right here. And as you can see, there's tons of other stuff in there. And we're going to cover each one of these one by one. We're going to talk about the bushcraft zip tie, the bushcraft twist tie, the soft shackle, and many others, the guy lines, toggle guy lines. I carry all of those in here. And this way you can create your own. So here's your homework. Get you some 550 paracord and make you a long line. How long? It needs to be about, as I stated, 20 to 30 feet. If you're living up in the Pacific Northwest or something where you got them great big huge trees, you may want it even longer. You want it to be able to easily go around the average size tree you're dealing with, plus have a usable length between them. If you're in really mountain areas, you may want even 100 feet long to be able to land line up and down. Or if you're a canoeist or campist, having with your canoe one of these lines that's 100 feet long may be very useful for lining and stuff like that. But for your cordage set, 20 to 30 feet, do you have to put a toggle on it? No. You do not have to have a toggle. You can just simply tie knots. But I prefer the toggle. And again, why the bowline? Because even after it's been under really tight pressure, you can easily untie the bowline. So that if I do need to take that loop out, I don't have to cut the cord. Hope you've enjoyed this, guys. If you have, please hit that like, share, and subscribe. And put down there in the comments what kind of cordage doohickey you'd like to see me put in here in this set. And there will be many more things coming in this set. We're going to do cordage. We're going to do fire kit. We're going to do cook set. We're going to do camping gear, sleeping gear, shelter systems, haversacks, rucksacks. We're going to deal with all of it. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.